Welcome to June, everyone. Can you imagine? Can you believe that it's already June in 2023? This year's going by quickly. So we're just gonna jump in here, go over some of the features that have been planned for ISE 3.3. Now you can tell that there are a couple of these features in this list that I am really excited about. The navigation improvements is something that I've been wanting ever since 3.0 came out and the menu covered the whole screen. So I'm super excited about the navigation improvements and the controlled restart after admin cert renewal. These are my two favorite features out of everything here, which sounds kind of, I don't know, shallow, but I'm okay with that. And you'll see why, because I'm definitely going to show you demos of both of these features. Matter of fact, without further ado, let's talk about these navigation improvements. As you can see from this screenshot, it's a left menu. We are adhering to the magnetic UI that is going across the different Cisco products so that we'll have a certain uh, look and feel that is consistent across our products. And I think this fits ICE perfectly. And I'm really excited about this one. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm just going to show you now. So, number one, I love dark mode. You guys know that. You've seen my demos before, so I just use dark mode for everything. Check out these new left menus. And if you see the dashboard, though in dark mode, you can't see it too much, is highlighted. That's where we are. Hamburger menu still exists, but that's just to expand or contract that side menu. We got some bookmarks that we can put on our recent pages just simply by clicking that little bookmark icon over on our recent pages. If you click that, you just have that in your favorites now. You can go to wherever you want to, and just a click makes it a lot easier for your most used pages. So now if you check these out, we've got some menu items that might be truncated, but if you hover over it, it tells you what the full name is. And then you have a nice dark highlight on the menu items when you are already there. Again, some more truncation that happens. We're still working on trying to make that the best possible experience. But with our work centers, you can see that instead of an overwhelming menu, we've got these collapsible menus so that if you're working in a specific section, you just go straight to that section, open it up, and go to where you want to go. And one of the things about our work centers is there's so much to do that it's hard for it not to take up your whole screen. So I think they've come with a really good uh, compromise on that one. So you just click around, and that's the biggest thing is your side menu. Click around, find out, have fun. We've actually upgraded our global search in here as well. I didn't capture that just because you click on the search magnifying glass and you search, but your results come back and they're so much better than what they were before. So I know that you guys are going to enjoy that. The other thing, pretty small feature, but big impact, is the ISE Ciphers Control. We can now control the specific ciphers that are being used within ICE. So if you have a mandate that you can't use a specific cipher in your environment, you can disable it. And it's pretty quick and easy to do. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So first thing you do is, of course, this is going to be in administration system settings. And this is where your security settings are. And you have all of your security settings here. But now we have this new checkbox for select the ciphers to disable. So once you click the drop down, you can choose all these different ciphers, and then these will be the ones that are disabled within ICE. Click that X there, and it clears out the whole selection. Now, if I allow the SHA-1 ciphers and we scroll all the way down, you can see SHA-1 ciphers are shown. If I disallow those, then I scroll down again, you don't see them here. So this drop-down box is aware of what is actually being enabled on this page so that you don't have to scroll through a lot of ciphers that are not enabled anyway. So if like the SHA-1 cipher suite's not enabled, you don't have to worry about going through and trying to select different ciphers through other cipher suites that aren't even enabled. So that's pretty much it. There's not a lot to show about this one, but it's actually pretty cool. It's got some pretty big impact here. Now, if you do edit the list of ciphers, your application server will restart. That's a big note here. And I think that makes sense. And you probably understand why that happens. You have to restart your application server so that it clears your cache and make sure that nothing's actually running that you don't want to be running. The other one that I was really excited about is this controlled application restart. Anybody who's uploaded a certificate to ISE knows that once you do that, your ISE nodes are going to go through a rolling restart no matter what, and it's just going to happen immediately. So what we've done here is, if you look at this, set restart time, and it gives you a scheduler. You got to be crazy, right? Actually, it's pretty cool. It's pretty simple to use too. So, of course, administration system certificates, and we're going to import our certificate. But before we do that, we have to import our trusted certificates, which is our CA root certificate, so that our certificates have that full cert chain. So I'm going to put in my CA root certificate, give it a friendly name, spell it correctly this time. All right. And then we're just going to submit. We don't need any of the other services for our CA root certificate. And it also helps if I get the right certificate. So I'm going to click no here. I'm going to choose the actual correct root certificate and then submit that. Hey, look, it worked this time. So now we go to system certificates, and now we can import our certificate. Now, this doesn't matter which node that you select here for me, because I'm using a wildcard certificate. If you're not using a wildcard certificate, you definitely want to choose your admin node. So go ahead and choose your certificate and your private key, and put in the private key password if you have one. Notice that one doesn't have an asterisk by it, so it's not required. So if you don't have a private key password, you don't have to put it in. Give your cert a friendly name and allow the wildcard. Like I said, mine is a wildcard cert. We do have our certificate chain. I'm also going to use this for my guest portals. So I'm going to go here and scroll down, and look at that. Our scheduler is actually on the same page that we use to import the certificate. We don't have to go to a different page or anything. Matter of fact, we can set our schedule before we click submit. So let's go ahead. You can select all at once if you want to, and then restart now, restart them all at the same time later on. But we don't want to do that. What's the use of a scheduler if you can do everything at once? I'm going to select all of my PSNs, so beta 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to set the restart time, and I'm going to do those as a restart now. And then I'll choose my secondary admin. We're going to restart this later. As you can see, my date is a little bit in the past, but we'll move past that. I'm going to do it at 6 p.m. All right, so we'll click save. Before we do that, let's take a look. So our time frames that we can choose are on the hour. So 60 minutes in between, no 30 minutes, no 15 minutes. It's a 60-minute time picker, which means that when we set the restart time for our admin node, we have to do it an hour later than our secondary admin node. I'm not happy about that, but you know what? That all can be changed. So I'm still really excited about this feature. And once you click submit, it says, hey, our guest portal tag's already been allocated to our self-signed certificate. Do you want to use this certificate instead? We said yes. And then now it's saving it. And then once we save it, it actually moves us to a separate page. This is a page under our system certificates for the admin node restart. And you can see that the restart status is that we've already restarted our PSN nodes. You can go in here, you can change your restart times, right? So if they haven't already restarted, you can change them. You can actually, once your secondary admin restarts, if you don't want to wait that hour, you can go in and click to restart, click your IceBed admin and then hit the restart now, and it'll automatically restart right then. So you don't have to wait that hour. You're just waiting so that it doesn't automatically restart in a rolling fashion, and it restarts without you being aware of it. So that's really cool feature. Now that we have this node restart scheduler, I'm a huge advocate of where else can we use this? Instead of restarting our ISE services, where can we schedule the restart of the ISE services for any other feature that needs it? So let's think about right now, only DNS is available to update through CLI. What about through GUI and then use the admin node restart? I'm just putting that out there. All the PMs on the call are probably yelling at me now. You're welcome, Tall. So I know that we've introduced a split upgrade in the past. There's a new split upgrade feature coming with the 3.3 release. Now, I'm not going to get super in depth about this one because, like you saw in the intro, Pavan is giving us a new split upgrade webinar that's an hour dedicated to this one feature. That's how big it is, and that's how big a deal it is. So I'm just going to go through and let you know some of the cool stuff about it. It's going to be a rather quick visualization, but that's about it. Now, we do need at least version 3.2 patch 2 to use this new split upgrade feature, but that'll get, if you're upgrading to patch or 3.3 or anything newer than that in the future, then you'll be able to benefit from this great feature. So I like to use a global deployment as an example when we're talking about any type of an upgrade feature, just because it helps resonate, at least with me when I'm talking about it. So hopefully it helps resonate with you guys when you see it. Now, like always, we start with the secondary pan, right? And then we can decide, what do we want to do? We can do everything as a group or separate groups or different groups, but regionally we have high availability everywhere. So let's start out with the primary monitoring and all the odd numbered PSNs. Upgrade those all at the same time so that our high availability is kicking in and we're not losing any endpoint sessions or anything like that. So once those come back up, we can start the next iteration of upgrades, and all the even numbers of our PSNs and our secondary monitoring node can be upgraded. Again, high availability, we're not losing any sessions. These come back up, everything is synced, everything's good to go. Then we upgrade our primary pan, and that's it. The great thing about that is that while in this example, we are upgrading 5 nodes at a time, it drastically reduces the time it takes to upgrade your global deployment. So if you're upgrading 5 nodes within 2 hours, instead of 2 hours per node for those 5 nodes, which would be 10 hours, then you can see where the benefit's coming in on that one. So that's a really cool feature too. I can't wait to see what Pavan shows us in that webinar next month. Now, pxGrid Direct is a feature that we introduced in ISE 3.2. We've added some additional visibility to the pxGrid Direct feature, and I'll show you what that means. And what it is, we can actually see in context visibility and all the details that are coming in through our CMDB or our external database that we're using to connect our pxGrid Direct and get our custom attributes are going to be able to be shown. And we're going to go back into the interface to go through this one. So this is located at Administration, Network Resources, pxGrid Direct Connectors. We're going to add a new connector here. All right, our wizard screen says, let's go. We're going to go ahead and give it a name. We're not going to validate certificates. I don't have a certificate on my site. We're going to come up here. This is our results. We're going to grab the URL. And we're going to paste it in here. Now we're going to wonder why we have an invalid URL. The truth is, this is still a beta feature. You guys know it's beta. It's not out yet. So what we found is the URL parser is not working correctly right now. It should be just fine by the time we hit FCS. So we're just using IP addresses to be able to use our URLs here. The other thing is, my site does not have any authentication on it, but ISE makes you put in an authentication here. So it doesn't matter what you put there, you just have to put something. Our synchronization, I'm setting it for 12 hours. That's the minimum amount of time between synchronizations that you can use. So I want it to synchronize as often as possible. The results for my JSON file is named result, and everything's underneath that. And you must click this validate button. If you don't validate here, you have nothing on the next screen. So validate actually just returns all the different fields that you're going to get. And now to add the fields to ISE, we're going to do it in a reverse order of what typically makes sense, because everything that's highlighted here or anything that's checked with that check mark is we're going to delete that. We don't want that in our dictionary, so we can't create policies or make decisions off of them, but we still want the information. So anything that you want to be able to make policies or decisions on, go ahead and deselect them here. See, we just got right here, segmentation groups. This is our last one. So now we have to scroll all the way back up. We need a button at the bottom here. Delete the ones that we don't want the policies for. If you want, you can add an extra attribute here to be another custom attribute in ISE. We're not going to do that now, so we're just going to go ahead and delete that again. We're going to include all of these attributes in our dictionary, do that all at once, and then click next. So now we can choose a unique identifier. I'm just going to keep it super simple here. Just do asset. Then our correlation asset, which is a new field for 3.2, is going to be the MAC address. I'm not doing a version identifier because I don't have that field. Then we just go through our summary, make sure everything's all right. And then now here's our pxGrid connector. Now, if you want to change the scheduling, you can disable it here, and then you enable it again, and you can change your scheduling for that as well. The references column is pretty cool because it tells you how many times pxGrid is being used in your different policies or decisions in ISE. So let's go over to context visibility. Now this is going to be under more here. It's under pxGrid direct endpoints for context visibility. As you can see here, if you have more than one pxGrid direct connector, you can choose from that dropdown so that you're using the correct connector. Now, like we said, it doesn't happen all the time. I mean, it doesn't happen immediately. So it takes some time for the endpoint attributes to show up in here. There are no more fields to show. Oh, there they are. They just showed up. Let's refresh again. So if you click on it, you got this sidebar that slides in. And not only is it just the, 5 or 7 different attributes that we chose, but every attribute that's in our results is being shown here in your details. Right? So you can see everything that's being shown. You can choose like this asset tag. I'm going to go ahead and copy that because that's what I'm going to use to build a policy on. You can download your details from your different endpoints into a JSON file. And then if you want to see the dictionary that has been created, we've actually moved that in 3.3. In 3.2, it was under the radius dictionary, but now we have its own root level dictionary here. And these are the 7 attributes that we had chosen when we set up the connector. All right. So now we're going to go and build a policy. Well, reference the connector in a policy set anyway. So we're going to use our default policy set, come down here, and we're going to create a new authorization policy, or authorization rule. And in our condition studio, we're going to click to add an attribute. And like I said, it's a base dictionary, so it's a first level in our dropdown. Then you have all 7 attributes right here. So we're going to choose that asset tag attribute and then paste in the one that we had copied. Remember to click the use button, not the save button. Then anybody with that asset will go through the onboarding of the temporal posture agent. So that's how easy it is to use the custom attributes that are being pulled in through your different CMDB, whether it's ServiceNow or anything else that you're using out there, and use those attributes into a policy. You could always go in one by one and add them as a custom attribute, but that's super time consuming. And you saw how quick and easy this was. So go with the time savings on this one. The next thing we're going to talk about are the profiling enhancements that are coming out with 3.3. Now, we've got a few different profiling enhancements that are coming out, and we'll talk about those first, but I'm going to run through a demo that will go through all of them in the same demo because they're tied together, right? So let's go ahead and talk about those real quick. The first one is the Wi-Fi Edge Analytics data. So we've worked with Samsung, Apple, and Intel so that when we see a network device or a network interface from those manufacturers, we have specific attributes that we can get from these manufacturers to really hone in on the exact models and everything that we're using from these for their devices that they're putting out and what we have on our network. You do have to have Catalyst 9800 wireless controllers running iOS XE 17.10 or later to take advantage of this. And this is just the first step in our Wi-Fi Edge Analytics data. We're going to keep working with different manufacturers and build upon this so that it gets more and more granular as we keep going and going and going. The next one is the custom attribute reprofiling trigger. I stumble over my tongue every time I say that. I'm going to try it again. Custom attribute reprofiling trigger. Hey, I got it right on the second time. Not bad for me. So a lot of times if you're using a custom attribute on a device, that attribute is being used, but you don't get reprofiled because there's nothing to trigger that reprofile of based upon that attribute. Now, if you're using a custom attribute for your devices, ISE will recognize that. You enable it here, and you can choose how you get your reprofiling. Of course, the default for ISE is a global setting, and it's no COA, and you can change that to port bounce or reauth. We know that part of it. That's the simple part, but the cool part about it is that you can use those custom attributes to set that. Then this next one is a multi-factor classification on ISE. Whew. We got to go with some shorter names here, Tao. That's a note for you. So what this does is it takes all the information that we get, and we have 4 different classifications now. We have the manufacturer, the device type, model, and the operating system. So instead of just saying, Cisco phone as our profile, it can say Cisco IP phone 7980 and what model or what OS version it's running. So we can get all that information from it, and we can build our profiling policies or our authentication rules based upon those really specific and granular attributes that we're getting from this new multi-factor classification. I'm going to show you some of those multi-factor classifications in our demo, and they're actually really, really cool. And then we've got the artificial intelligence and machine learning profiling. This one I'm pretty sure that you guys have been hearing about for a while. And if you're like me, you're like, okay, well, what's different and how is that gonna revolutionize or change what we're doing with profiling now? Well, I'm going to show you that, and it is actually going to change a lot of how we're doing our profiles as it sits. So without further ado, let's just jump on in here and get to it. Now, of course, we're going to start with the Profiler Work Center. I'm going to go down to the settings here. And now we'll talk about this screen in a second, but first, for Cisco AI Analytics, one thing you need to know is, as it sits right now, you have to use an Advantage license. This does not work with an evaluation license, so you have to get it connected to your smart account. So let's go ahead and do that now. Make sure all your license tiers and everything are where you need it to be. It takes a while to register, so we got to turn back to the old time turner so we can speed this process up. All right, now that we're finally registered, let's go back over to our Profiler Work Center. Go back down to settings and Cisco AI Analytics. Now we can configure this. You have to agree. Of course, there's an end user license agreement. We're doing a new configuration. Now, a lot of times people ask, well, where's the config file? How do you get those? Well, that's what we're creating now with this configuration. Now that we have done this, as you can see, our dialog is telling us you now have a configuration file and you might want to download that and keep it somewhere. So if you click OK here, you can download that configuration file with that link and put it wherever you need it to be. So if you do have to reload or re-image your deployment, you can use that same configuration file. Check your cloud connectivity to your AI ML cloud, and we're good to go. All right. So now if we go back over here to endpoint classification, we want to show you this first because this is where it's going to give you the proposals for your machine learning. Now it says we're not connected, but it's going to say that for 15, 20 minutes while it actually connects to the cloud and gets all the information. So if we go back to our profiler settings, this is where you turn on your MFC profiling rules. So turn those on and turn on both of your AI analytics settings here. You can also turn on the custom attribute for profiling enhancement, but I didn't. So if we go in here back to endpoint classification and click on our endpoint, you can see our MFC rules here in the top right. Now, if we go back to attributes and click on other attributes for our endpoint and scroll down, you can see that the MFC attributes are shown here as well. So anywhere that you can click through to your endpoints, you'll be able to see that. Oh, all right. So now our AI proposals, our machine learning cloud has been connected. Now it says it takes a minimum of 7 days to enable. That's been reduced down to 1. Oh, and then let's look at that. Again, speed up time a little bit. We've got 2 proposals. So let's take a look at our proposals. We got Lexmark printers and Samsung devices. We have 50 devices for Samsung. Let's do that one. That's the one that's going to mean more to us because there's more of them. So let's give it a policy name. Before we do that, let's take a look at what it actually shows us and how granular it is. So these boxes here, these 5 boxes with the and on it, this is our new profiling policy. So we're going to do our policy name is, well, we're going to do Samsung, but that's not right. We want the past tense. So we're going to do Samsung and make it Samsung AI so that we know that this is our artificial intelligence that profile that we're doing. If we take a look at endpoints, you can scroll through the list of endpoints that match this profile. We have 50 of them. We already know that. So we're going to accept this profiling rule. All right, now that that's accepted, let's take a look at our profiling policy, right? So policy profiling. And one thing that you're going to notice right off the bat with this is that on the left side, we now have this new entry called AI profiles. So anything that you get through a proposal is going to be showing up here. We've got our same policy here. We're going to copy the manufacturer name. That's how we're going to use to build a policy. But if we click back on the main AI profiles here, you can see that you can delete your profiles, delete all, delete selected. You click back on the AI proposals and it'll take you right back to this screen. Now there's no add button on that last screen because you have to accept a proposal to add to that AI profiling. So to use this in an authorization rule, let's go ahead and create a new condition here. Now for this attribute, we are going to select, and I'm sorry that my interface decided to take a while. When I clicked on it, it did not want to just come right up. So we're going down here and we're using the endpoints dictionary. And if you see, we have our different MFC attributes here. So the MFC attributes are also part of the AI analytics. As you can see, we're using the hardware manufacturer that we got from AI analytics to build on our MFC profile for our authorization rule. So, like I said, they're all connected together, and building on top of each other is how you can get this nice, feature-rich, and pretty granular profiling that you can do now within ICE with these new different uh, features and MFC attributes. So that's pretty fun and exciting. Um, that's honestly all I have to show you about 3.3. I'm going to give you a little bit more of an advance on a feature that's coming out with the 3.3 patch 1. And what that is a more enhanced integration with Duo. Right now, to use Duo with ICE, you have to have that authentication radius proxy server sitting between, ICE and anywhere else. So ICE or Duo is actually doing the Active Directory lookups and passing the information back and forth to ICE. Well, what we're planning for patch 1 is getting rid of that middleman server. ICE, of course, is still going to do the Active Directory login and the lookups for everything. And then we're going to do that push to Duo so that it's, more seamless for you to set up ICE. It's a lot easier. You don't have to worry about the external radius server or the radius server talking to Active Directory and all of that. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple, and your end users don't notice anything different. So it's just going to be the same thing for them. They go to log in and they get a push on their phone. So a phone and a finger is all you need. That's what Thomas likes to say. So that's it for today. I know it's a really short webinar for today, but those are the features that are coming out with ICE 3.3. Hopefully we can get any feedback from you guys. I don't mind if you wanted to open it up for question and answers if we have anything in the Q&A, Rigo, that I can tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Charlie, for that excellent presentation. We do have a couple of outstanding questions from our audience here. And the first question is, any ICE 3.3 enhancements for meeting new or current zero trust guidance from CASA or DoD?
So yes, and that would most likely fall under the DoD for requiring IPv6, and IPv6 has been expanded to all of our portals within 3.3, including the guest portals, BYOD, posture, and all of that.
Got it. Thank you so much. Next question. What backend is used for the AI analysis? Is it a FedRAMP compliant resource? And is the AI analysis component enabled when FIPS is turned on?
Those are very good questions, and I don't have the answers for those.
Okay, no worries. We'll move on to the next question. Thank you so much, Charlie. Next question is, how extensive is AI profiling? Does this diminish the need for the enrichment provided by external products for verticals like healthcare and manufacturing?
So, of course, with AI profiling, it's new for ICE. So, does it diminish the need? I wouldn't say that it diminishes the need right off the bat. It has to continue to grow and be perfected. Granted, we know that. Hopefully, in the future, it will diminish that need because we want ICE to be that profile generator that everybody relies upon. So, not off the bat. Check back in the next version or two.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Charlie. Next question in the queue here. Are the AI proposal automatic and appear just by connecting to cloud? And do they only populate based on discovered endpoints, not like static profiles that show up all the time?
Exactly. Every assumption that he had made in that question is correct.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. Does the issue with multiple domain administrator is solved? Is it solved? Hopefully that makes sense.
What issue, which domain administrators?
Okay, we'll wait for our attendee here to clarify on that. And then while we wait for that, we'll move on to the next question. Any additional data required for AI profiling to work? NetFlow, or SPAN, for example?
No, no. So it the AI, it's hard to believe that what I showed in that demo is really all you need. Yes, you do need the Advantage license, but that's it. Everything else happened. There was no behind the scenes trickery. I didn't configure anything just to make it work or anything. It works that way. It just takes time. Like I said, 15 to 20 minutes to register it to the cloud, then about 24 hours to start getting proposals back. Then you just accept those proposals. It's really that simple.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Another question that I see here is any cloud Azure integration features?
Um, what do you mean cloud Azure integration features? ICE can be installed natively on Azure Cloud, as well as AWS and OCI. Azure Active Directory can be integrated within ICE, and so can Microsoft Intune. So, a little more clarification would be needed on that question.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Charlie. And final question here before we wrap up. What data is sent to the cloud resource for the AI to be utilized?
I'm not sure that information has been released, so that's not something I can answer here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. And unfortunately, we did have one other question that just came in. We'll go ahead and address that, and then we can wrap up if that's okay with you.
Sure.
So the question is the data sent to the cloud for AI encrypted? And if so, do you know the algorithm?
Um, Again, I'm not sure that we can talk about the back-end specifics of all of that in such a public forum, so I'm going to defer not to.